The time is almost here. It's time to get the hell out of America. I don't know what's going on here. You got people with weapons on the street, throwing tear gas, propelling from helicopters. You know, it's like they're turning this place into a war zone. I admit, now, like every city, especially big cities, they all have their problems. They all do. But I don't know if it's a good idea to wage war on your own people. There's different ways to do things. And I understand both sides. But I feel like no one's really sitting down and really strategizing, because I don't think that's what this is about. You know, I'm not a politician. I'm not really into politics. But, you know, I don't think this is what this is about. You know, whatever is happening in the country right now is some nefarious happening. You know? And I don't think people who voted the way they voted anticipated this. I think this is shocking to everyone, what's happening. I mean, everybody knew there was going to be some kind of change, but to what degree, I don't think anyone really thought about or even expected, you know. Now, I admit, some people are genuinely happy about what's going on, but it's just not enough of them to supersede what's happening to people, you know. That's all. And, you know, the problem is people are going to remember. And this thing has the potential to get out of hand so quickly, so fast. You know, even on TikTok, they're selling like military style gear, you know, camouflage and packs and food rations. Like everybody's like in on it. All the retailers, social media, all the news outlets, everybody's in on it. And the only people left in the dark are the people that are going to be affected by it. So, and it's pretty bad. Because it feels like they're losing respect for everything and everyone. You know? I don't know. I could be wrong. It feels like after all these full moons and cycles and portals and crap, people have really changed. They drank the Kool-Aid. That's one thing I have to say about myself. I don't do anything that anyone else does. I am not a follower. I remember one time I was younger, I tried to be in a group. I wanted to be down with this group from my neighborhood in Rogers Park. I drank with them, hang out with them, got trashed, and still got rejected. And I'm glad they did. Because most of them, I don't know where they are now. You know? Feels like the empathy was taken out of people. Like, now it's almost like no one cares about anyone or anything but their possessions. They only care about their material shit. And man, that's crazy. You know, everything is pretty much produced in China. So whatever you think you got that's worth something, it's only worth something to you. You know, maybe a few other people, but this material shit has gotten people crazy. It's obtuse how people think now, what they value. They value all this material possessions over a life. It's all a trick. Everybody's being lied to. Everybody's being fooled. You know, it's kind of a relief when you finally decide to just, take a stand and, I don't know, say enough is enough. You realize that nothing's gonna change. It's crazy, but that's the way it is. You want it to change, but it doesn't, you know. The thing is that people get into their moods, get into their ways, and they could get stuck there because people don't like change. You know, we all have something that we don't like about change. Some of us welcome it, but even the ones of us that do welcome change, we still have some type of, stigma, or I don't know if that's the right word. Maybe it is. But we all have some type of hesitation towards it. Because there's some things we're going to want to change. There's going to be some things that we're not going to want to change. And that's with life. That's everything. You know? But regardless, that's what happens. And the sooner you get, I guess, into the idea that, hey, look, this is what it is, it'll be easier the sooner you just accept that that's what it is and don't try to resist, I guess. Because everything changes. Nothing stays the same. Nothing. Because think about it. Every day that goes by, you get older. And that day, you don't get back. So right there is a change. Every night you go to sleep. Every morning you wake up. That's a change. You know? And, we'll say, well, that's just the way it is. That's life. Ain't nothing you can do about it. That's how everything is, pretty much. And the things you can do something about, you're going to. Or you should. Or you wish you could. Whatever the case. It's what's supposed to happen if it happened. That's the change. I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking in circles. But you get what I'm trying to say. At least I hope you do. Now, speaking on change, some of the changes have been happening, to the economy of Chicago and other places, other cities that have minorities or immigrants or whatever you want to call it. They're all being affected. Financially, it's all being impacted too because, now people are worried about going to go shop. And that's hurting businesses from gaining income because fewer people are doing fewer things now because of this whole situation, And this change, people wanted some kind of change being done, especially people who are looking for jobs. I understand in a sense, but at the same time, not everybody's a criminal. And I think what this has managed to do, because it's always been being done, they've always been deporting people, whatever. And I don't think the scale of them deporting people has been, any different. It's just more public now and more aggressive. And it's more of a spectator sported, it's I can't help but think that it's an ego thing too. You know, like it's a game show. I know it's not a game show, but I feel like it's being treated as such because it's like, you know, you're dealing with real people, you know, and when you have that kind of situation, real things are happening. You're affecting real people, tearing families apart, and you know, taking, you know, the breadwinners out of the household. So ultimately, the household's gonna fail. It's just a real bad situation. It's stirring up a lot of issues. But I mean, on the one hand, you know, you have to say, well, this is crazy work. I mean, I try to find some type of resolve, but it's really there's no need for the way it's being done. I understand the reasons why they're doing it, but really the way it's being done, you know, like I said, I'm not into it like that. I'm only talking about it myself because it's so prevalent. It's like happening in real time. Or else my mind would not even be on it. That's one of the reasons I want to get the hell out of here, honestly, because it's getting weirder and weirder. You know? It's just it's just a matter of time before shots ring out, I think. And I said this before in some of my other videos. I only believe it's going to get worse. You know? It's you know, it's not, don't take much to read the room. All this is by design. So I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. You know? The sad part is that it's happening at all, but it's happening here at home. You know? When stuff like this comes up, you know, you get to thinking, your mind starts brainstorming. Then you say to yourself, what if there were aliens? Like, what if they did come here and pass judgment? Like, a third party come sort all this crazy stuff out. You know? Put things where they belong. You know? Make things right. I accidentally turned off the camera for a second. You almost want to wish something like that. But let's be honest, that's not happening. Okay, so look at it like this. You know, you got people in different parts of this country, you know, that have their own little factions, their own groups. Whether it be religion, whether it be gangs, whether it be some cults, whatever it is, they're out there. And this whole thing of terrorizing and, you know, just making things worse than they are, you got to think about it like this. They surveillance everybody. Everybody's on camera. Everybody's voice is recorded. They have, GPS, they can pretty much track where you are. They can ping your phone. Nothing's off limits. So everything can be done low key. Because most people use phones. If you're using a phone, you're on the grid. So you can just go pick people just like that. It doesn't have to be all, out in the open and super bogus. It could be something like you get them alone, like and you be polite, unless you're provoked. Present your credentials, explain to them what it is, so it's no mystery, and at least that way then you've explained who you are, they know what the deal is, and if it goes sideways from there, everything is almost justified in a sense. And that would be a more effective and intelligent way to me to do it. It shows respect. It gives us a I don't know, something decent. We don't walk around disrespecting and causing chaos and panic, disrupting neighborhoods, different areas in the country. Because we have the intelligence, we have the capability. Everything can be done in a way whereas it's professional. It's a professional job. Like what's happening right now is not on the professional level. Like if I were tasked with such an awful job like that, I would do it in a more professional manner. I'm not even going to say it's awful, just with that job, because all jobs are awful. But especially when you don't want to do them. But if I was tasked with it, I would be more professional about it. I would use the resources that I have in a more meaningful way. Because I don't want to go out into the world, like with arms and showing all this tough guy stuff. It's not really necessary. If you're going to be professional about it. That's what I'm saying. But I don't think we're choosing profession. I pushed the camera off button again on accident because I'm holding just the camera this time and not the tripod. And my big hands seems to touch all the buttons. But yeah. I would just go about it in a more professional manner. People have to have dignity. Because let's face it, when you want to be treated with some type of respect, some type of dignity, I would. It's a simple request. The only reason why people are like afraid is because it's so hostile. If it wasn't so hostile, then it would be a much easier, simpler process, I think. But it's not a professional process. You want to handle yourself like a professional when you're doing that kind of job, because it's one of those things where it's gonna get covered. You know, you're gonna get seen. People are gonna know about it. So since they're gonna know about it, you need to do it in a way that's gonna, because let's just be honest, it's gonna get amplified, right? So since it's gonna be amplified, you have to think, well, let's put our best foot forward, because then that way, um, when it hits the world stage, it's not an embarrassment. It's not, you're not spreading this thing is almost like a disease around, because word, people got phones, the internet's around, they're gonna talk, they're gonna conversate, the word's gonna get out, because people are not doing it the way they should do it in a professional manner. And that's just my opinion. Who am I? I just think that, when you're gonna go and separate somebody from their family, take away their livelihood, you gotta have some thought. You gotta be sensible. It's a tough job. You can't probably be as compassionate as you want or show as much empathy. You're gonna have to have a stone face a lot of the times. But that can be done without all of the hostility. And that's what I'm thinking. It can still be done. And it doesn't have to be bananas. We're spending a lot of resources. We're going to all these cities, and I keep saying we. I'm not doing anything. The government's doing all of this stuff. I wonder, I don't know. Seems like the whole thing needs to be redone. Like, get rid of everybody. Let some normal people in there. Like normal people. Make it like a 9-to-5 job instead of this super exuberant, and see if people still want to take that position. I don't know if that would have worked, but something simple. Because now you have to be wealthy in order to become the president. And that's not like a normal man. I guess you always had to be wealthy. The money was probably just different back in the day. So, well, not probably, it was different. So you probably always have to be wealthy. And that's just the way it is. But you got to get normal people, regular people, because if you don't get regular people, you're going to keep having these type of situations where you got these ultra wealthy people who think they can decide for everyone because they got successful on a couple of schemes that they, or scams that they did, tricking. You shouldn't be rewarded because you can trick the most people. You can scam the most people. So that shouldn't be, you shouldn't get rewarded for that. People should just set aside their differences and call it for what it is. This helps no one but the person who's doing the scamming. I don't know. That's what I believe anyway. I think that it's a much simpler situation than they make it out to be, because they add all this extra stuff, all this unnecessary things. It's terrible stuff. But this is where we're at. You know, I'm just a kid, you know, from Chicago, from back in the day. I'm not a kid anymore, but I'm a Chicagoan. Raised from a kid, you know. I might have to take this out. But you guys get it. Things didn't change. It just seems too different. Too different. I don't know. I hope things get better. That's what I do hope. I hope the people can figure this stuff out. You know, here it is, I'm leaving the country. And I feel weird about it because, you know, some of my relatives and my kids will still be here. But some of them choose to be here. You know? So, everybody got choices, right? So, and only you could decide for you. So that's why I'm like, you know what? My choice is to go to Asia right now. And then maybe in a few years, I'll come back, and after I come to visit, and then we'll see from there. But for now, it's all about getting out of town, getting out the country. You know, I'll live a much slower life, you know, but I'll eat a lot more fresher food, fresher fruits. You know, I'm older now too. I don't really want to just go to parties and stuff like that. I don't do that. I might go to 1 or 2 parties, but that's not me. And I'm not staying at all. I'm actually just going to show my face and turn around if I go to a party. Because I don't do those. I'm okay with people. I enjoy them. But I have to go. I can't be around too long. I don't like, you know, crowds. So I really like just chilling with a small group of people. More of an intimate circle, you know. But you got to be able to adapt, because not every situation is the same. Got to be ready to change. Got to be ready to adapt. So I've learned to do that. Been trying to work on myself and become a better person, taking this time, you know, to be alone, to think, to, you know, figure out myself before I incorporate anyone else. I'll date, hang out, you know, do my thing. But before I get into anything serious anymore, I'm getting ready for change. You know, I'm gonna figure me out more, spend more time with me. You know, spend money on me, spend time on me, making sure I'm good. You know? Making sure I'm living up to my standard. Facing change in my way. By leading the charge. Like, you know what? I want change. So, I'll get it. But I'll get in front of it. And lead the way. Things are looking up though. You know, it's looking up, looking really good, because now, you know, my kid, he might have a gig out, you know, so he can travel with it. And then that's gonna work out, because now, you know, it'll be better for us to go, because he's got travel cash too, and he's got something to do, something to keep his mind stimulated, because he's too young not to, you know, be doing nothing. Has to keep his mind sharp. That was one of my concerns. And then you know, you had the war, the sinkhole recently, and then the earthquake. So everything happened for a reason. You know, getting back over to Thailand. So yeah, now everything's behind us. Only thing that's different now is that we're going into high season. So I was thinking about that too. Maybe I'll go to Vietnam instead, because I don't think Vietnam, I don't want to, I'm not really going to Thailand like for what everybody other guy might be going for. So I don't care if it's high, low season. There's no sense in me spending money on stuff that I don't really care for. So I don't need to be there during high season, because I'll be moving around to different countries. So I'm thinking I'll go to Vietnam or Bali or the Philippines. Maybe even Malaysia, you know, because I don't need to be necessarily in Thailand. I'll just go to one of those places and let my visa stay my entire visa stint, and then once my visa stint is over with, I'll go to the next country. That's how I'm planning on doing things, you know, unless something changes or I don't want to be there. You know, you can't stop unforeseen events, you know. So, and the region seems to like be under like, I don't know, volcanic attack or something, weather attack. You know, if it's not flooding, tsunamiing, or having volcanoes or earthquakes. So yeah, I'll be moving around a lot, because I don't want to stay in one place for too long, you know. And then, you know, when you stay in a place for too long, you develop feelings, you know. I get to a place and get a girlfriend, I'll be in trouble. That'll stunt my growth. So I don't want to be there too long. I want to make sure that's really out in the open, that hey, I'm not staying. And yeah, if they down with that, then we cool. But I think that needs to be on the table first, that I am not staying. I'm only here till my visa runs out, and then when my visa runs out, I'm on to the next country, you know. I guess it's time for me to get to the house, because we're having fried rice. I don't know why I did that, but yeah, it's time for me to get back to the house, because we're having fried rice. And you know I want some chicken fried rice. I'm scared to get shrimp right now. That's another thing. You can't even buy shrimp in the country right now. They say it's all contaminated. Hell, if the shrimp is contaminated, all the seafood probably contaminated, because hell, they only share the same body of water unless they're farm raised. But I don't know. We'll see. Now look at the canal. I think this is what it is, the canal. I think so. I'm not sure though. That was the canal. We'll see. I'm not sure if that's the canal, but I think that's what it is. Might not be. Might be, might not be. We're gonna make it across this street. All right, so we made it across the street. We're headed back to the house. Gonna get some food, some Chinese food. All I can hope is that everybody's having a wonderful day, because life is super precious. I think sometimes we forget. but it's precious. So try to live your best life so you give yourself more time. And stay optimistic, because things can always change for the better. I know people like to say for the worse, but we're gonna say things can change for the better, because they absolutely can. You know, life is funny how all this stuff works. You know, when you think about how wrapped up we are on the material side of things, man. And this is all over the world now. How did this happen to us? The desire for nice things get taken out of control. Is it because we want to separate ourselves? You know, Kanye West was right. People's self-esteem is all wacky. Somebody has to, you know, justify you, or tell you need, like, not even you, us as a society, we need, you know, to be we need justification to feel a certain kind of way, you know, to be accepted. Crazy stuff. In order for people to feel like they belong, they gotta acquire certain things. This urge, this need, this wanting to be a part, it's almost like a sickness. People so badly want to fit into the in crowd. I've been there. I've done that. I know what it's like. I was one of those people. And sometimes I still am. Depending on the intoxication. But really, no. It depends. You know? I'll try to say, no, I'm not like that. But to a degree, I guess I am. Everybody might be. We got to figure something out here. We got to figure out empathy, humanity, the things that are important. Life is precious. Look at how beautiful that is. I was just recording this at 4K 50. I'm like, 4K 50? What the hell is that? I want 50 frames. I need 60 frames. I don't know why I did that. Don't ever let anybody change the way you feel. You know, don't let them have that much kind of power over you. Do it. Do what you want. But remember, anything that you do, there's consequences. But do what you want. It's your life. And you're only here for a limited time. So make the most of it. Try to live your best life if you can. And be optimistic. And believe that things can get better. I know people like to say things always, you know, things can get worse. But over here, we're going to say things can get better, because they absolutely can. Have a great day, people.